Makar is an old word. It just means maker. And the medieval Scots poets were called the Makars, the makers. And the word was utilised with the idea of having a national poet of Scotland and to be called the Makar. So there have been 4 modern Makars, I'm the 4th. And it is to be the person, the go-to person for things to do with poetry in Scotland. Poetry in Scotland goes back a long, long way. We can trace a good 1,000 years worth of written poetry. And it's always been an integral part of our lives and culture, poetry and song, for many hundreds of years, even before Robert Burns was born. But since then, Scottish culture has been heavily identified with poetry, and we use it at all levels of society, community level and, you know, for the higher reaches of art.
Oh, I think the connection between poetry and Scotch whisky goes back forever. I mean, I've got 3 books about Lindores, all written over, all of them over 100 years old, and they're full of poetry. I mean, they're full of poetry, they're full of stories, they're full of history, and a lot of it is very local to here. So I think it goes back centuries, and I think there's huge links.
I'm fortunate enough to live near the distillery here at Lindores, and so the fields and the trees and the river are all very, very familiar to me and have been for many years. So it was not difficult to think my way into the poem because all the aspects that go into the making of the whisky are already familiar to me.
Having read quite a lot of Kathleen's work, and as I say, knowing she's local, so knowing she walks past the distillery with her dog and walks the same land that we walk, it meant a great deal to think that, you know, we've got the Makar in our midst, and the fact she'd be writing about whisky and about our area just meant a great deal to us.
I was invited down here to the distillery and presented with an array of whiskies and told how to taste them. This is completely new to me, and what to look out for in this process of fully tasting something, you know. So I sat with 6 or 7 different whiskies, and the blender saying, "Listen to this, look to that, smell this, taste that," and it was an absolute revelation.
It's an honor for Lindores Abbey Distillery to be chosen to release the Makar Malt 2. And I've been delighted to work with Kathleen Jamie, the Scottish Makar, to produce the creation of the Makar Malt 2. What I did was making different prototypes, so offering her different alternatives, so she had a multitude of options to choose her perfect dram.
So when I came to write the poem, I'm interested in language and in dialects and in accents, you know, what writer isn't? And I realised that there's a relationship there. All the different whiskies in the different distilleries, it's like they've got their own accent or their own dialect of the land and the area they come from, as do the people. And so I thought that's something I want to get into the poem, that sense that this whisky speaks with this local accent, and it comes from the land and the rain and the flowers and the trees localised to it. So I could see an analogy there between whisky and poetry, you know, in that they're both localised and should be listening to their own local dialects and their own local wordage.